I mean, at points, I forgot about, the setting, and I just was kind of looking at the authenticity, of the dynamic interactions within space. There's just, it just, the directorial approach was spot on. That woman, she really listened to men. She listened, and she heard it, and was able to capture like the essence of just what it was. I mean, albeit the screenplay and this larger than life story with these larger than life characters, in a sense, because these are real people, but the authenticity of just, I was like, whoa, that's something I want to kind of explore more for myself, because much of the stories surrounding these men, I know some of my own stories, and then I have interpretation of spaces. In fact, I have a good friend of mine that was like a godson to Muhammad Ali in Miami, and I would go and spend time in his house because he lived directly across the street from him on 46 Northwest 46 and 15th Avenue in the city. Yeah. And, for like spaces and time, like in the early 90s, I would just kind of hang out with him. And this is when, Muhammad Ali, he was more so forgotten about in terms of his Miami connection.
Yeah.
It wasn't a talking point after some time.
Right.
Although his Muhammad Ali was born out of Miami, not out of Chicago, out of Miami. Cassius Clay became Muhammad Ali out of Miami.
Okay. And he trained here and stuff, right?
Yes, he lived here. He had a home here. Yeah.
Yes.
And wow, and even there are just so many different authentic pieces to the way that she kind of, I mean, this guy Cassius Clay was his trainer and fight doctor one was I believe Ferdy Pacheco is a Cuban,
mm-hmm.
but maybe second generation Cuban, Ybor City guy.
Yep.
I
think he died not long ago.
Not long ago.
Right.
And Angelo Dundee, which is, Dundee just implies Italian all over. But these were, I certainly hate using this term, and I actually do hate, and I'll double down on the word hate using this term in this context, but it is what it is. These were his handlers.
Yes.
And he became Muhammad Ali, even as these guys were still his very close confidants. So he was like embracing this narrative of the white man is the devil, and he had these guys that were just like his friends, like, yeah, okay, now let's go fight.
Yeah.
Okay. And that all of those like subtle nuances ring so true for me, and just the complexity of just what it is to be a Black man, one into another, while in this type of space. Because I had, my beginnings were out of, albeit I was born out of a very unique and specific tradition or faith tradition. I go so far as to say, I mean, and this will be another conversation, but I was born in secrecy. This was my awareness at the time. My friends, my actual friends, up until the time that I was 8 years old, the conversations that I had were with people that were between the ages of 50 and 70 years old. These were my personal friends.
Wow.
Yeah, this is how I come to the world. You know, I wake up in the morning and sit for coffee with my grandmother, great grandmother, and their circle of friends became my friends.
Wow.
And these were my conversations. Um, so just I don't know. It really brought so much for me into a conversation that I would not otherwise, and I still don't yet know how to have that conversation because I don't know many with my beginnings. I mean, they exist, you know, but I don't know many.
Okay.
So I'd want to watch it more to kind of see exactly how I would flesh it out more for conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's just kind of like my share, what it did for me. It just, you know, reminisced all these spaces that I would not otherwise even know that were even possible to introduce in conversation.
Oh, that's super.
Yeah.
My church is not getting back together in person probably for a while because the Episcopal churches here are closed. And you know, some Catholic churches are open, some other ones, but ours no. And we miss each other. We're having Zoom meetings and stuff. But there's a ministry in the parish called the Dismantling Racism Ministry, which you know, tries to educate the congregation about racism and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm associated with this. I'm not in all the meetings, but this other thing that I'm in, we have joint meetings. And one of the issues is, you know, what can we, like they've run book discussions on Zoom where everybody reads the same book. The one of the last books they had, there was a big demand for the discussion is the How to Be an Anti-Racist book by Kendi. I read it. I was not in the discussion groups, but because by that time we were zooming and it was everything had shut down. But I thought it was very good, and you know, some of it I still had big questions about, but I didn't really get a chance to ask them. And I think I don't know if they've read another book since, but they were. But I proposed this to them as, you know, if there is ever a way to do it, people should watch the film. I think it would be helpful. And then, you know, you probably know this, but you can go to see the hotel where that was. It's a historic site.
What, the Hampton?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They saved it from the wrecking ball and some other things, I guess. And I'm really sorry I never went. It, you know, would have been interesting.
Well, around that you know, that cultural motif, Miami holds a lot of historical remnant.
I
I
know.
mean, Overtown, classic Overtown, that was more or less the Harlem
Yep,
of,
exactly. I
yeah,
know.
yeah. So you're,
Yep. I don't. I'm still reading the Herald sometimes, and I read this other thing called New Tropic, which is a little newsletter. It's really designed for people who don't read the newspaper all the time because they have links to other things.
mm,
They have made it a point to get um, uh, local, like on the cultural scene, on the restaurant scene. The black community is in there.
I think you mentioned it or recommended it to me at one point.
It's
Yeah.
good. You can contribute to them, but you don't have to pay for it. So if you look for the newtropic.com, you can probably find it and get on their mailing list. I think it's really interesting. And 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 of course everything in Miami is open. I don't know if you're going out to restaurants and stuff. I mean, I wouldn't do it if I were there, but no, it's dangerous, I think. Um but there's a lot going on, and And not just food, but people making movies, people doing art,
Mm-hmm.
and you just don't find that stuff out unless you try hard to find that stuff out. It's not always on the big radar. So yeah, that's all.
Yeah. I find that Miami is Miami, and it'll be that.
Yeah.
You know.